Hey everyone, Nick Engvall here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about some of the people that make the sneaker history community and this podcast possible. It's more important than ever to think about who you give your money to when you're buying clothing to go with your kicks. Our friends at Guilty Goods started their brand with a goal of giving back, especially to the communities that make sneaker culture possible. With every purchase from Guilty Goods, at least 10% of the proceeds are donated to organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the Movement for Black Lives, and many more. You can save 30% on your order by using the code HISTORY at guiltygoods.us. Again, that's history at guiltygoods.us for 30% off, and you can feel good about your purchase knowing you're supporting a meaningful cause. Sneakers are all about presentation, and if you're like me, displaying your kicks at home or in the office is just as important as when they're on your feet. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights, drop-side cases to showcase the entire side of the shoe, not just the heel or the toe, the whole shoe. They've also got display cases for trading card collectors and hat collectors. To me, it's the perfect way to display your collection. You can save at least 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. If you're a Patreon supporter or a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days. He's currently the defending champion in our community trivia nights competition. Kicks with V hot sauce has been a huge hit with the community. You can save 10% on your order by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. Now, you're probably here because you like sneakers, and if you join the Discord, you know our community is about so much more than that. Whether it's the marathon-like community calls, trivia night debates, the in-person meetups, or just sharing our favorite experiences, we found that although we have such different backgrounds, we all have some unexpected shared passions. Not only does the entire community look out for each other when it comes to releases, we're like a support group for life in general. You can join the Discord community for free by heading to the show notes of this episode. After you're done listening to this episode, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Now let's get into today's episode.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a James with no regard for human life. Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What up? What up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name is Nick Engvall. I'm with my guys Mike and Robbie, and we're already laughing hysterically, so this is going to be a good episode. What's going on, fellas? How you doing?
Yo, man, I'm doing good. I'm just saying I'm super excited. It has nothing to do with shoes. We just heard that the legit Justice League movie is going to come out next year on HBO Max, so I'm happy.
It took as many tries as we have hosts to get that entry. So. Shazam.
I'm feeling pretty good, too. It was nice to get the rest of the Last Dance Championship era Bulls stuff posted up on the site. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely go do that. But we got some cool topics to talk about. I think there's actually surprisingly a lot of newsworthy things going on in sneakers right now, even though we're all kind of staying at home still. But and then obviously we haven't talked about the Last Dance. So I think that's going to be fun to get into our thoughts on that. But before we do that, business as usual, I want to read a review from iTunes. If you've left us a review, we appreciate you. If you haven't, we appreciate you too, but give us a minute of your time. Head over to iTunes and drop us a review. Today's review comes from AdRock1988. Knowledge is power. Nick, Mike, and Robbie each bring a unique perspective and insight to the show, covering the marketplace, upcoming releases, and the overall community are just a few of the topics each episode. While partial to their favorites, the podcast is unbiased by brand or company influence. The love they have for sneakers is obvious, and it's the reason why I listen every week. Robbie's sense of humor helps too. At Overhyped Kicks. So give at Overhyped Kicks a follow on Instagram. Shout out to you for dropping us a review. Shout out to Robbie for bringing some humor, since Mike and I must be like people must think Mike and I are just boring because we get so many reviews where it's like, Robbie's funny too.
It's all right. I mean, Robbie's just extra funny. No, we're funny, but he's so funny that it takes him over the top. So there you go.
Exactly.
So funny. I'm taking my talent to South Beach. I'm starting to
Maybe next year though. Don't do it to this year.
I'm nothing without you two. So thank you for that very nice review, Overhyped Kicks.
Yes, most definitely. So hopping into the news real quick, speaking of nothing without anyone else's help, like what's up with these dunks all selling out? What's up with everything selling out right now? The Brazil dunks sell out instantly, reselling for like $200 or $300 in my size. I saw bids over 300 in my size. I don't get it.
Nonsense. The complete nonsense. I laugh because I didn't really want them. I know both you and I, Nick, were trying to help Robbie get a pair. I was trying to help another buddy get a pair as well. Like they released on every website I saw, it was the release time and then sold out immediately. I mean, I know we can't stop bots, but dang, we got to come up with something better because, I mean, I can't really say, oh, it's not fair, but, oh, come on, it's really not fair.
So what's funny is that, yeah, I had like 6 people trying to get it for me. And what ends up happening now is I'm willing to bet 2 out of 10 people are going to try to wear that shoe. And it's just, Mike, you said many websites do offer the product, but you have to be so focused in what you're doing. I mean, like I'm pretty damn good at multitasking, but no lie, if I have my laptop and my cell phone, I'm trying to do sneakers on my cell and like, you know, be on like Lapstone and Hammer on my, I don't know if they released there. It's the first shop that came to mind. If I'm like there on the computer, like I'm still going back and forth a little bit and I'm going to miss both because I'm running slow trying to split my attention. So it's always just like, you know, I kind of like dig my heels into one website and it's like, well, I'm not going to have time. By the time I refresh the other one, it's 7:02, which is comical to say that, and they're gone. So it sucks.
Well, it's crazy. So the link I sent you for premium goods down here in Houston, my buddy also was looking for them as well. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll send them both to Robbie and my other buddy. And they didn't have them on the site at 9 o'clock. So I'm like, oh, okay. They probably just dropped them some random time. I was working. I was like, all right, cool. I'll keep refreshing. Same as you. Just like, hey, I'll keep an eye on it, but I can't devote my full energy to it. And I look up, still didn't see him on there. I refreshed one time, sold out. And my bud's like, he's like, yeah, man, I was on the site, saw him get on there, and then I clicked it, it said sold out. Like, what? I wanted to get somebody on the show who knows bots because I just want somebody to explain it to me how they're like the Flash. Like, it's insane.
I mean, it's basically instant, right? So you don't have any kind of delay at all if you're using a bot because as soon as it clicks live, it's you know, split second later you've added that to your cart and bought it. But on top of that stuff, I think what's really, really weird is like we were all texting this morning as we were trying to get these, right? And I don't understand why like all of us could be on at the same time. And I tried to buy them, you know, relatively quickly, right? I was on right at 7 and you guys were like 2 minutes into it, sold out. And I sat there for another extra 2, 3, 4 minutes waiting to get the same sold out message. And I always wonder like, why does sometimes it take 4 or 5 minutes for you to get the sold out message when everybody else has already got it? Or am I like close to getting it? Like they're probably like scanning my account. Like, yeah, he hasn't hit in 2.5 years. Yeah. Well, oh, not today.
It's like the commercial. Almost got it. Almost got it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like.
I mean, I'm still pretty salted about it only because not the product itself. It's just the process. Because it just reaffirms that when there is another shoe I inevitably really want, I go into it with the prior knowledge that I'm fucked. So it's like, it makes every release daunting. And like, I don't like paying resale. I'll do it. But like, I really, really, really don't want to. Like really. And it has to be something super special to me. It can't be like normal special, like a dunk. Like, you know, there's been 5 of these high quality dunks since last year. You know, I'm not going to go dump $1,200 into getting a couple of them. It's just, the shoes I really like, but like medium thirst for, if that makes sense. They're on forever. I'll see a mid-top version of these in 15 years. Then they got high, low, and mid.
Yeah.
So have either of you guys ever like actually pre-ordered or bought something ahead of a release?
No, because I don't trust it. I mean, I'll buy stuff on resale sites, but the pre-order stuff, I don't trust it, man, because I've looked at them. I saw I looked up this add to cart service a couple years back where it's literally the cost of the shoe plus like another like $100, $200. I'm like, I might as well buy a resale, like just to get it the same day. I'm not about to pay X amount of dollars. This is silly.
Yeah, I mean, funny thing about that, like when Nike was still doing like Twitter releases, I would use like the pre-purchase like slotting or whatnot stuff. I think the last shoes I bought were, I wanted to have both and I don't own either one anymore, the Gamma 11 and the Gamma 12. So I got both of those off like the add to cart services early. But when it comes to like hashtag team early, that shit's fake. Like I don't care. Like unless you're like, there's definitely people who get plug stuff early and they exist on social media and they post those. But if you have like a full size run, like
Fakes.
Yeah, man, it's like, get out of here. Like, I don't want none of that Fugazi stuff. Like, I don't even entertain the idea. I haven't entertained the idea of a bot literally since the Gammas. It's just not worth it to me. I mean, I guess it could be worth it if end of day it ends up costing me $200 instead of $400. That's a saving still, but I don't feel good about supporting that type of process. I have plenty of shoes. I don't need to go contribute to the problem.
My thing is not, it's just, I understand, like, again, we always talk about it. I know people need this for inventory for their stores and their business. Cool. But people are literally buying up everything. Like the last 2-3 Reebok Question releases sold out instantly. The women's Air Jordan UNC colorway just came out, sold out instantly on sneakers. Are people just buying everything because they're like, well, I'll just get all the product and see what happens, because the things that are selling out doesn't make sense. And I don't know. I mean, we were talking about earlier, what, 1 out of the 10 people are actually going to wear them? But it's like, what are they doing? Because at a certain point, a lot of these shoes are going way below value on these resale sites. I mean, only thing you're basically paying is fees at this point.
So I have sorry just to jump in front of you, Nick, but I have like a definitive thought on that. And I was talking to somebody who listens earlier on DMs. Can't remember who, but they're like, yeah, why are dunks so expensive now? It's like the dunk, the Air Jordan 1 and the Air Force 1 are so easily recognized. When something has any amount of hype around it, it's going to attract every level of reseller. Somebody who thinks that they could flip, like a Paris to New York Air Jordan 1, they buy 5 pairs of them, thinking they could flip them, and those happen to flop. But you can try to buy every pair of Air Jordan 1s, women's included, if it has a natural feel to it. You don't have to be a real connoisseur of sneakers to know, oh, it's an Air Jordan 1 OG high. Okay, I hear those all the time. I see them on blank platform. Okay, colors look good. I could probably make money off this. It doesn't take rocket science. Like you see Travis Scott's name attached to something, anybody over the age, I feel like now with the little kid resellers, like over the age of 9, knows that probably Travis Scott's cool, and Travis Scott plus Nike equals money. So it's just those are the easiest formulas to figure out, and these dunks are just really good examples of that. You're like, oh, okay, clean dunk. It has a sneakers like pre-release little story thing behind it. You go look at other dunks from the past year. You're like, okay, like I could flip these, dog. Like whatever kid, I don't know, whatever happens. But like that's why everything's just getting bought up, because it doesn't take rocket science for the simple collabs and higher profile stuff to have a connotation of money behind it, so it moves really fast. has everybody out in full effect.
So I agree with you. I also think that Dunks, Jordan 1s, Air Force 1s, a lot of the kind of iconic classic shoes, because they're more recognizable, get a lot more people that don't care about the rest of the stuff, right? Like, you know, we all pay attention to these things every day, every week, whatever it is. But the average consumer only comes into stuff that they're really, you know, like into, right? So like Dunks being in, you know, a unique colorway, if it's a colorway that they like, it's easy for them to hop in and be like, oh, cool. Like, I know how this works. I'm going to try to get a pair. The one thing that like Mike brought up, the questions, I've been buying like way too many Reebok questions for a long ass time. Like I have probably more questions than, I mean, I don't want to get into like a bragging thing, but like I could probably challenge how many questions Allen Iverson actually has in his home. That's how many I have. Like I have more questions than any other shoe in my collection. So, and like exponentially more, not so it's not a smart financial decision for me to be a question fan, because most of those shoes are not worth anything compared to, you know, the hype stuff like a Dunk or a Jordan or whatever. But I really just loved Iverson, loved the shoes. And most of the shoes that I see now are the same shoes that'll be sitting, you know, 6-9 months from now for well below retail, brand new or close to it, because the people that, you know, buy them thinking they're going to sell them, if you look at, you know, StockX or GOAT right now, there's nobody making any money off of any of those questions, right? They're selling for $10, $20, maybe $30 over retail. By the time you add all the fees in and all that stuff, the shipping, like you're not, you know, like you're not making any money on that sale. So part of it is like, I also think that there's just people that have online stores or, you know, retail stores where they're a resale shop and they buy the stuff just because they know that eventually somebody will come in, because that's kind of the nature of, in my opinion, what the future of retail actually looks like is, you know, just buying whatever you can get your hands on in whatever channels that you want and having a more dynamic flow with your business, as opposed to ordering up your, you know, quarterly order from Nike or your, you know, spring summer line or whatever. But I also think that it's really interesting. And the reason why I asked you guys if you had ever pre-ordered. So I don't trust, I mean, I would trust a handful of people that I know that could get me something early if I really wanted it. But I'm not the type of person that ever asked for that favor, because it's just not that important to me. But I wouldn't trust any of the platforms, you know, even knowing so many of the people that work at some of these places. It's just not something that I trust. They know exactly where that product comes from. Even when they're using the same suppliers, it's easy for people to slip in and change things up. And because they're already trusted, they can now take advantage of the system. And I'm not saying that that happens everywhere, but I'm just saying that like, it's definitely a possibility. What really fascinates me about like all this stuff right now, the hype on the Brazils, the hype on the Ben & Jerry's, like Mike just sent the prices on GOAT for the metallic Jordan 4s are ridiculous. My theory is, so I looked at StockX. StockX is well below the prices on GOAT, but still decently above retail. My theory is that everyone is just trying to buy everything that they can in the thought that they can be like the next cool reseller, right? Like you have like, I forget the names of some of the people, but you know, like I'm not talking about stores, but like forget some of the like kids that you see on YouTube a couple years back where they're like, oh, I sell to all the celebrities, because frankly, I think that's the problem. Like the sneaker world has made it impossible for you know, your normal person, let's say, you know, XYZ celebrity is like, I really like those Brazil Dunks, tries to get on Nike, can't do it, doesn't work, gets frustrated, just hits up whoever because he has the phone number and says, I want those, I'll send you 300 for them or 400 for them. And that's a smart business plan. I mean, there's not as many people that can afford to do that, I don't think, but it is really interesting to think about that, to see these asking prices ahead of time. Kind of, you know, they're always inflated because the people that can get them early know if you're going to get rid of something, you either get rid of it right away or you wait the long run and, 6, 9 months, couple of years, 10 years, because the shape of the market price of a shoe always looks like a Nike swoosh, right? Like almost always the original price of an early pair will cost you, 20 to 30% over retail or more. It'll drop down to really close to retail during a release date. And then it'll just slowly climb back up because people wear them and the supply goes down. So the supply of dead stock pairs, I should say. But it's a really fascinating thing. And I'd never tried to order anything early. Honestly, like there's only a handful of shoes that I think I would even try that, but it's just not something that I ever pulled the trigger on. But I want to pose that question to the listeners because I am curious if you've ordered early from a platform, from a specific place, or used a bot, like what are your experiences? Do you have experience in that? Did you enjoy it? Was it good? Did you get burned? And I also want to make sure that like we have a voicemail system that we can use for this. So if you could obviously hit us up on social, DM us, tweet us, whatever, but you can also text or call. The phone number is 1-877-AIR-MAX-1. So you could call and leave a voicemail. If you want us to, we'll use that voicemail on an upcoming episode when we talk about this again. But if not, you could shoot us a text and just let us know what you're thinking, what your experience was. If you have suggestions too, or if you're somebody that does that and wants to just plug yourself, that's cool too. We want to know what you guys are doing out there. So that said, want to switch gears a little bit away from the dunk stuff and the resale stuff and just talk about some of the Pride shoes that have been popping up lately. Mike, you said you saw some Reebok stuff, right?
Yeah, Reebok. I don't know if this is the first time I've seen Reebok, but I couldn't tell you that, hey, they do this all the time. But it's called the All Types of Love collection. And they utilize a pretty cool tie-dye setup. It looks like almost like watercolor tie-dye. And I have to say the Zig Kineticas are awesome looking. Both like the cream one with the tie-dye sole and then the tie-dye upper and then one with the cream sole. Dude, super solid. They also have a Club C with the tie-dye upper, and then they have a Club C with a white upper, and then a classic leather. And it's good looking stuff, man. The product is good. Again, I don't know if this is the first time they jumped into that ring at this particular style of shoe, but they're really pushing a Zig Kinetica, and I think that's a good model because of that type of upper they use is kind of engineered mesh / I think engineered mesh. It's a blank canvas one where they can go in and do everything. I think this is a solid look, and yeah, man, I think probably one of my favorites I've seen as of late.
I really like the classics for sure. I didn't get to read what the tongue said when I was glancing through, but like you said, the tie-dye pattern color combo is really dope, and it's on the inner lining on that one, which I think is just a little more wearable for me. And I haven't bought a pair of classics in a while, so that is actually something I'm kind of looking at. Have you got one of those Zig Kineticas yet?
No, I haven't yet. And now I'm kind of wondering which one I want because I wanted the Billionaires Boy Club pair, and they sold out, but now they're kind of sitting around in different places. I think Champs has them, and on resale sites they're retail. So I've heard there are some very slight similarities between those and the 4D, just the way they feel, but clearly way cheaper. So I want to try it out and kind of do a comparison of them eventually.
I also saw that New Balance has a pretty cool little. I'm not like a big fan of the shoes, but they are doing. It's the 327, which is that like the super like exaggerated large N on the side, and then they have like one of their Echo runners, which is really dope. Mm-hmm. But what I really liked about their Pride collection this year is for one, the slides are fire. They're like super reflective and rainbow colored, brightly colored. But the apparel for New Balance looks super dope, which normally I don't see New Balance as like the apparel place. But like the shirt with like the heart with the NB and like this like kind of like, I don't know what you call it, like 3-stripe wording graphic. It's pretty dope to me.
It looks like a neon sign almost.
Yeah, yeah. And I haven't seen anything from Nike yet. Have you?
I haven't. But this the 327, I swear does just look like the New Balance Sakai. That's all.
Yeah, definitely does. So other news, we got I guess a handful of things we should talk about that are potentially returning again. I'll let you guys take one of those 3 things.
Go ahead, Robbie.
I don't get your hint. What 3?
So you got the rumor that there's a Tom Sachs Mars Yard coming back, the rumor for the LeBron 7, and the rumor that the Clot Air Max 1 Kiss of Death is coming back.
Well, Nick, you just told it all. But no.
Ruined it all.
Because I know I heard what you were saying, but I had a really deep thought in my brain. So I kind of feel like I have to share this. So it's really out there, but it makes sense. So Craig Mack, you know who I'm talking about?
Kick a new flavor in your ear?
Yes, exactly. I'm happy you said that. Because since you've heard that song, having your ears just register new flavors better and better. I feel like my music taste has only gotten better hearing him. He opened the gate by putting the new flavor in my ear.
This guy.
Oh, man. I honestly haven't had that thought, but now that you mention it, I don't think knowing Craig Mack or hearing Craig Mack's music has impaired my taste in any way.
But think about your life before you have the flavor in your ear.
He was flavorless, he was saying.
It's probably a bit more flavorful after. So to rope this back into shoes, there's no segue, but the LeBron 7, I think we're going to keep getting more and more colorways because they're seeing how fruitful that shoe is being. Like the Air Zoom generation and the LeBron 3, they both sold out every single time. They didn't linger, but the LeBron 7 has always been a fan favorite. And did we say the MVP? Is that what we're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having that one come back, with the softer material on the uppers, the grays and the white and things like crimson red, something like that. Those are just so clean, and it's like a broken record coming out of my mouth, but it's so good when PEs come out, or even I think those might have released at like some Cleveland places. LeBron has weird releases back then.
Some of these were scrapped.
Okay.
They're supposed to, but they never did.
I mean, just like LeBron 6, sometimes changes happen last minute. You don't know. But that's a really cool release. I'm definitely going to try to get a pair. Emphasis on try. Emphasis on try to get. But yeah, man.
Did you get the Media Day ones?
I did not. And it's funny because I know the guy who who made that colorway. He's a friend of mine. And he didn't get a pair either. Oh. So we were talking about it like a couple hours after release. And he had to go to StockX and he bought a pair in his size for I think he said like $360 in that range. And it's like, man, even the dude who pretty much made that shoe has to buy resale. It's messed up. But for my size 12, it was like $550.
Cool.
It might be more or less. But when it comes to a LeBron retro, I'm not playing the game if it's over. Realistically, I want to say $250, but probably my hard cap is $300. If there were $300, I'd probably bite the $100. And
dang, they're $380 right now and go. They had a spike. It was weird when they first dropped. Everything was so high, but everything kind of starting to fall now because my size was like $400 when they dropped. Now it's down to $280 on the resale site. So the initial hype has worn off and. Maybe sooner or later we can all have a pair.
So, related but unrelated, I bought a LeBron jersey. I got a LeBron jersey, a Laker one, last week it came. So I was like, man, I was really hoping to pull off that whole fit. And it didn't work out that way. I guess I have to do something with the other 15 purple and yellow shoes I have. So
it's not the same. Let's see.
Yeah, it is crazy though, the way that pricing, because I think there's that couple days delay where everything stays a little high for the 2 days of waiting for stuff to ship, and then once people start getting their shipments, they just start unloading, right? And then the prices end up coming down. I was actually one of the other shoes that we were saying we're potentially going to release in 2021 is the Clot Air Max 1 Kiss of Death, which is, if you're not familiar with the shoe, it's super dope. It's I mean, it wouldn't be something I would ever wear, but it's like a clear, translucent toe box and has like the kind of skeleton outsole pattern on a clear sole. It's just a crazy shoe. But I was looking at StockX, and just in, I don't know what their timeline is for that, but it looked like the shoe basically has been climbing in price, fairly steadily for the past 8 years. And the last sale that shows on StockX right now is down $221. So it's $1,078 is the sale price, and the lowest ask now is $1,000. So to me, it's kind of crazy that you're seeing in real time the rumor hits that that's coming back. People just unload. They're like, oh, well, it's going to kill the price of it. And if they do it right and remake the shoe right, then why would you buy an older version when you can wear a newer version longer, at least, in theory?
Because Team Early has people flipping out of their mind. Everyone wants to be first to something, even if that means their shoe's going to fall apart.
Yeah. But the last one on the news, which I think is awesome, and I'm going to definitely try to get them if they do actually come out, is the Nike Mars Yard 2.0 Tom Sachs shoe. Summer, looks like. Is that what it said? End of 2020. Yeah. Select retailers. So
sneakers app. All right, cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I already lost. Okay, cool. I'm good.
Yeah, all right. We'll try again next time.
Yep.
Dude, I'm just going to buy those Jordan Delta SPs in a Vachetta tan. The second round they released is still sitting everywhere, $130. They look, a poor man's Mars Yard, so I'm okay being a poor man's Mars Yard if I can actually get it.
Yep. And it's React, right? So it's going to be way more comfortable.
Exactly. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Tom Sachs is all about improvement, so it can't be worse in any way than any iterations before it.
Right? That's what I was thinking. I don't know.
And also, I just placed a $225 bid on the LeBron media days. So let's see if I can just screw the market and have somebody take that $225.
Dude, we're going to start keeping a chart on the bids that Robbie makes during episodes.
Yeah, we should actually. That'd be hilarious.
I mean, so I like temporary action. I'll throw a bid out there knowing it's not going to get picked up
until it does.
Hey, I mean, if it does, you're winning. Power to me.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt, right?
Yeah. If you like that price, it's definitely not going to hurt you.
Yeah. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the news. Now we want to hop into the kind of topic that everybody's been talking about this week. Got to see the end of The Last Dance, 10 episodes deep. I will say that I loved it, but I will also say that it felt very much like a commercial almost at times for Michael. But it still was really awesome to relive those memories and to kind of get a little bit more access to those moments that, where it's almost like if you my experience when it happened originally was piecing all of these moments together. Right. And, I probably did watch 10 hours worth of, ESPN and local news and WGN and all the different places where you could watch, but to have it all in one place and to just go through that whole thing was really awesome. My two gripes are, I thought that the bouncing around from time wise was a little aggressive. I think it's dope when you're bouncing around on a timeline like that in storytelling, because there are things that are very important to set up certain things. And they did a good job with the setup and the closing and there's stuff like the moment where he's on the floor crying after the 72-10 championship. Like, that is something to me that was incredibly powerful because I haven't ever heard him crying, right? I've only seen it. And even when you saw it on ESPN originally back in the day, you didn't hear him. They were talking over it. The announcers were talking over the top of him. So to me, that was a very powerful moment. And really, really the same way that the moment where he basically says, if you don't want to win, I'm here to win. And he's like, you can see him. I mean, I think he starts crying and like cuts the camera off, right? Because he's so passionate about winning. So those are the two moments that were really special to me. The bouncing around kind of bugged me a little bit. And one of the things I mentioned in the story that we just posted on the site, the fact that the flu game was not the flu game bothered me, because if Nike just turned that and turned it into the flu game to sell shoes the same way they did with the Jordan 1 to sell band shoes, I'm not saying that I don't want to buy the shoes because I love the story and it's nostalgic, and I'm just as much a fan of the Jordan 12 as I am of the Jordan 1 personally. But it was just really interesting to kind of like know that that wasn't the true story. But I also think it's genius to spin that in a way that can become something that you can market. And I kind of made the joke on the site with the story today and just said, you know, like you couldn't call it I ate a bad pizza 12s or got food poisoning 12s. Like that's not marketable. But flu game, it is, right? So props to Nike, but also I hate that shit.
If it was a diarrhea game, would have been more relatable.
Diarrhea 12s, Christmas.
What were your guys' overall favorite parts, most disliked parts, etc.?
So I like the documentary. I think we've discussed it before. I feel like there was still some more to be told, but MJ's like, I'm gonna give you a little bit, but not too much. So that was one thing that kind of bothered me a bit, because we got into his psyche a bit and saw that he's actually insane. But I just like the fact that we got some more players. Like I really got to see a lot of Scotty, a lot of Dennis. I think understanding Dennis's psyche, even though it wasn't, wasn't the prime focus, but just understanding him and how they wrangled him, and how much rope he had with the team. I mean, that was amazing to see, kind of backstory, understand who he was. I think my dislike about it was actually after the fact. It's not necessarily the show itself, but it was the aftermath from all of like our talking head shows. Like how does this turn into, like, I don't know how does this turn into a this person's better than this person, and then basically a fallout with all the teammates again. So it's crazy how this one thing has had so much of an impact in the world now as opposed to in 1998. So I think that's my only thing. Like hearing Stephen A. Smith and all this. Take that back. It's Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless is the reason. That's the one thing I hate about this show. Skip Bayless, because I cannot hear him talk about Michael Jordan anymore. I understand Michael Jordan will most likely go down as the greatest player ever, but this documentary showed that he was human and showed that he could have been just the biggest jerk on earth. But it's like Skip Bayless and some of these other guys just refused to, acknowledge that, oh, okay, well, maybe being that kind of person isn't the greatest. And then I can't remember, I think it was one of the other shows, what was his name, Wilcox or something. He was like, yeah, that toxic masculinity from Michael Jordan, we need that back in the world. I'm like, bro, what are we talking about? So, Whitlock, the show on FS1. So,
Brian Whitlock, yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about, we need that, smoking a cigar, right? Drinking a cigar, drinking whiskey and a cigar, and just, being a dick to people. I'm like, we don't need that back in the sports world. Like, I don't know, but it's kind of a ramble, but that's kind of how it's the fallout and like people's thoughts, and they're not really getting the gist of it. They're just kind of making their own narrative now.
How about you, Robbie?
I think I'm definitely in the minority of people that keep Skip Bayless employed by various media outlets. I've always liked Skip, but I agree. It's not just him though. It's a lot of people now digging the heels in that LeBron will just never be, that nobody will ever be as good as Michael Jordan. And that's frustrating because, I mean, I forgot who said it, somebody, Aristotle or somebody, but it's like you have to be able to entertain another idea without accepting it. So it's like people aren't even willing to entertain the idea that somebody could ever, even 50 years down the road from now, be better than Michael Jordan. And this documentary locked that up. It really didn't give me, outside of 3-minute bursts that were fleeting, any real deeper insight to Michael Jordan's character that I felt like I didn't know already. They did Scottie Pippen dirt, and I felt like that wasn't really fair. It felt like in the beginning they were gonna give more to Scottie in terms of credit, because they were lining it up with his childhood background and how he had helped become a man of the family very young, and his college growth. And I was like, okay, they're shaping this narrative to look like he came from nothing and then did all these great things. But it was like a narrative shift from he grew up humble and then he pouted and, didn't like Tony Kluko getting the last shot in 95 or something. And the back spasms or cramps, whatever, just there wasn't nearly enough about how Scottie truly was the quintessential and kind of the prototype lockdown wing. I feel like before then, everything was defensive minded in the old NBA, but Scottie was truly, had the height, size, speed, athleticism that now every NBA front office looks to as an architecture when they look for a small forward or some kind of wing player. And they didn't nearly go enough into that. I feel like it was just, they could have very easily called this Michael Jordan's retirement sagas, Days of Our Lives, and it would have been accurate. But I just didn't like the representation of Scottie Pippen, and I don't like Scottie Pippen. They call him no Tippin Pippen in Vegas, and parents have always casino business for tips. So it's I've always liked Barkley more than Pippen because Barkley tips a lot and Pippen doesn't. So it's you do bad by my dad, I personally don't like you as much. So I've never been the biggest Scottie fan, but it doesn't take, a basketball, savant to realize how much more you could have gone into Scottie's positive traits than what they chose to go into.
Yeah, it did them dirty.
You guys both bring up some good points, and the way that it was filmed and the way that all the players were represented, it definitely highlighted their weakest points, in my opinion. And I thought it was really interesting, to Mike's point about all this aftermath of the show. I mean, here we are kind of a part of it, just talking about it, right? But this is kind of I look at us as hey, we're just normal dudes having a conversation about, things. We would do this in person with everybody listening if we weren't, on, stay-at-home orders or whatever. But there's so many people out there that get so riled up over certain things and the way things are portrayed. And, Skip is a great example. Whitlock is an example. Both those guys have made a career out of essentially bad takes, right? And sometimes it's entertaining and, I understand how that works. But what I thought was really fascinating is all of these people that I typically don't see on Twitter, which is kind of my go-to place for news type stuff. But a lot of these sports journalists that, have quotes from Scottie saying that he's pissed at the show because of the way he's portrayed, and Horace Grant's pissed at Michael because he didn't snitch on, he's like Vin Diesel out there. I never snitched on nobody kind of thing. But like, it's just one of those like weird, like, why is this a thing? You all literally already went through this. You all know what happened. It doesn't really matter. And you all won and made millions of dollars. So are you just doing it now for the show? Like to are you, and I'm not like picking on any of those guys, but let's say if it's Horace or Scotty complaining about Michael, are you publicly complaining about him now because you need more attention, because you got to get your bread up and got to go get an ESPN deal or whatever that is? It doesn't seem like that's the best way to do it, but that's also, unfortunately, the nature of the way that news media works right now, especially in sports, where, there's very few people talking about the good shit that goes on compared to the amount of like negativity that's out there and the amount of people that just want to tear athletes down in their conversations. So I think that it was at least somewhat, in my opinion, everybody had a fair point to make their own points, right? If Scotty wanted to, speak up and talk some shit about sitting on the bench for that last play where Kukoc hit the game winner, he could have totally did that. But he also just chose to say, like, yeah, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. I wouldn't do it any differently, but I shouldn't have done, you know what I mean? Like, he owned up to it. Yeah. And so to me, like, there's just a lot of, if there's issues with the way that it was put together, it seems like you all know how the conversations went throughout this whole time. And like, why are you riled up afterwards? Or is that just people trying to make shit up and get clicks out of it? I don't know.
Well, I know the Horace Grant one. I heard the radio interview. So he was actually riled up. I don't know about Scotty and anybody else because there's no like actual sound bites or anything written down. But yeah, I think what you're saying is pretty accurate. So they're like, hey, let's see if we can go in and just make something out of nothing, if that's what it is. Or someone's trying to get their money up right now. And, hey, this is the hot topic. Let me go ahead and just be, pissed off about the documentary.
I forgot who I was listening to, but it was somebody on sports radio. But they brought up a great point where, Scottie Pippen and Isaiah Thomas were just like living their lives like normally, not having to deal with stuff from 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And you got to think about how you would like that and how you would respond to that. I mean, it's never going to happen to any of us because nobody really cares what any of us were doing that long ago. But even when we're grown men, their age, I mean, we're all grown men, but, older, when we're I don't even know how to say it. I'm digging a hole. When you're old, you look back. Like, nobody's like, oh, remember that time you got a DUI when you were 22? When you're in the office on a Tuesday, minding your own damn business? No, nobody ever does that. So I'm sure Scotty doesn't love every decision he's made, but then to like randomly have every outlet looking at you some kind of way off of some shit you did, years and years ago. It's like the Kevin Hart thing, like the tweets from, he made some, and homophobic tweets was like 6 years before he tried to host the Oscars or whatnot. And he got canceled for that. It's like, how long do we need to like keep bringing up people not finest moments? It's like, that's tough to deal with. And I don't like how that works in any part of life when any kind of story comes out. It can be an essay. It can be a full documentary. It doesn't have to be The Last Dance. But it sucks for Scottie Pippen and Isaiah because, again, I'm not huge fans of either one of them, but, I wouldn't want people rehashing my business and making me come up for answers for stuff that you don't feel like you really have to have answers to. But now you do. That's not fair. And it's kind of messed up.
I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I do think that as public figures, specifically looking at like those examples of Scotty and Isaiah Thomas, right? they've chosen to still be in the public eye for the most part, right? Scotty's a regular on ESPN. Isaiah, I can't remember what he does, but he's,
NBA TV.
NBA TV, right? So like in that sense, like you're already in the public eye. You know that that's going to continue to be the conversation for the rest of your life until you decide that you're just going to disappear. And like, honestly, like I would say, like Karl Malone, I don't know if you guys saw the E60, like questions from like, it was from like a month or two ago, I think, but basically they're asking him about Michael Jordan. He says, when I say Michael Jordan, what comes to mind? And Karl Malone just says, Michael Jordan, the man, Michael Jordan. And like, he goes into it though. And he basically says like, like Michael, I give respect. Michael was a badass, but I was a badass, I forget what the word was, but like something like that, and Karl Malone's one of those people who's removed himself from the spotlight primarily. Right. So he's not necessarily on the hot seat when he's doing something like that, even though like he has, plenty of shit that has come up over the years that he wouldn't want to deal with either. So it's kind of interesting to look at the way people choose to like be out there. And yeah, you're always going to have like the trolls on Twitter or, Instagram comments, whatever. But I will say that this, as a documentary, seemed like it at least asked genuine questions of those guys and gave them opportunity to answer, like however they wanted to answer and to put that out there in the right way. But I also think that unfortunately, like Michael just has so much influence on everything that, who's going to really like shit on him in a documentary that he's basically the face of, right? Like that's just not going to happen. So, but I want to throw it out there again. So we have a phone number that you can text or call and leave a voicemail, 1-877 Air Max 1. My question, I have two. I'll ask you guys, and then I'll throw this out for you guys listening. If you want to shoot us back your answer. If you have any thoughts on the documentary, I would love to hear that too. So you feel free to throw that in. But one is, what would you like to see in the same format or, similar, like deep dive, 10 episode long, documentary? Like what would be the next thing on your list of, I want to see that story?
Well, your boy Tom Brady already, announced he did 9 parts, one shorter. But I think I would really like to see
Tom Brady has a documentary coming out?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
Isn't he still playing?
It comes out next year, and same style as the Jordan one, but this is more of him, not just the team. So this is more of him up until I guess whatever point they'll finish filming it.
He's just like, I'm gonna give myself my flowers before I'm done with this damn game.
Yeah, like, you know what? Whatever, I'm going to Tampa anyway. Tell me what I can't do.
Yeah. All right, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
I was like the genuine surprise. Like, wait, hold on, we gotta go back. I would really like to see a Lakers documentary the same way with the Shaq and Kobe teams, and then on the flip side, I think Jock had brought this up, and a Tiger Woods one would be pretty solid if we can actually get him to talk.
So for mine, I have to sneak one little thing in. My favorite part of the whole documentary is when Karl Malone, after getting his ass kicked for the second year in a row, still got onto the Bulls' butts to say good game.
Hell yeah, that was so impressive to me. So impressive.
Crazy, like, man, you're good sports.
Yep.
One of the games he held your team to like less than 60 points, and you still went and like sought him. Yeah, like that was, and again, not a big Karl Malone fan either, but I don't dislike him, and that's a very positive moment on him. For a documentary, it's not sports related, but I want to see Snoop Dogg tell the West Coast story all from his perspective, all the way from like, like Doggy Style, through like Death Row stuff, through like Rhythm and
No
Gang.
Limit.
I mean, that's like everybody always thinks like, oh, like West Coast, like Pac Dre, like, yeah, we've heard that story a lot, but he's worked with like artists in such a big range now that I think just like a sit down smoke sesh with Snoop telling his musical stories, throughout his career would be a really good one. Cause you could do like early Snoop and then Pac and Snoop. You could do like Pharrell and Snoop. You can do like Martha and Snoop. Have all these like different ranges. Cause I mean, like Snoop really is like, not only is he the dog father, but I feel like he really is like the uncle of hip hop. Like, if you don't respect Snoop Dogg, I'm gonna slap you. Like, Snoop Dogg is like,
dude, you said Pharrell.
Contrary to Karl Malone, I'm a massive Snoop Dogg fan. Like, I love everything Snoop does. So like, yeah, I want to see a 10-part Snoop Dogg, like from his perspective, interacting with those people that are still with us, not with us. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be dope. For me, so
duh. Sorry, I'm like, do I get Kendrick Lamar in there? Like, it's everybody. Awesome. All right, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing, like generational, right? Like, it's changed so much throughout the years that he's been successful. And obviously his success has transitioned from different, forms of entertainment. But I think that whole story would be amazing. And there's so much like question around the controversies that happen, especially in the early years, right? Kind of related, but not related. For me, that's that like kind of pinnacle story that I want to hear from the source is Allen Iverson's story, right? The moments that he's talked about his entire journey have been so, pieced together that I think, as a huge fan collector of his stuff, like I have his books, I own his, I have like DVDs in the closet kind of thing, watch the stuff on Netflix, all those kind of things. I'd love to see somebody put it together and let him be kind of the face, voice, narrator of that whole story, because I think he's one of those people that just has such a mixed bag of experiences, both high and low, that if you knew what he went through on his bad days, you would probably not believe what he can accomplish on his successful days. And that's what I love about him. That's why he's my favorite player. That's why I will always look at him as someone to look up to, as opposed to, some of the other athletes that are out there that have had really polished careers or have had ways to cover up the problems that they've had. Because I think once you have your shit out there in the world seeing it, still being yourself and still like performing to the top of your abilities is a very beautiful thing, no matter what your career, what your opportunities are. And so that would be my choice. But I would definitely throw that out to the listeners. If you have an idea for a long form documentary like that you'd love to see, shoot us a text. It's 1-877 Air Max 1, or call, leave us a voicemail, whatever's easiest for you. Trying to get a little bit more interaction with you guys and have some more conversations around the stuff that we're talking about. So we set that up so you could do that. And I forget what else I was going to say.
I'll say Allen Iverson wearing head to toe Lakers gear is like the best thing on earth. Like every time he does that, Kobe jersey, all the ice, the Laker hat, man, makes me so happy.
Laker questions. He'll wear them. Come on, I know someone has a pair.
Man.
You could have been a Laker.
I'm talking about you. Get you a pair of Laker questions.
No, there was that story out there. I read it around one of their retirements. But yeah, there was a point where he was going to go there instead of Denver.
That'd be interesting.
No, before that, there's a second one where it's like he was going to try to join Shaq and Kobe. Like before Shaq left. Yeah, a couple of times he tried to go. Kevin Garnett too. But
he got blocked by the commissioner because of, I'm sure that they didn't want that kind of power shift in the NBA.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I mean, yeah, that's a whole other. We need to do an episode on super teams, as the haters will call them. So that should be a future episode. But before we get out of here, I want to pose one more question to everybody that's listening. Now that you've watched The Last Dance, now that you've relived all these Jordan moments or been introduced to Jordan in a new way, what are some of your favorite moments from that era, from the Bulls era, from, let's say championship era, 91 to 98, like the shoes, the players, the stories? What are some of your favorites? Like, let us know, call up, leave us a voicemail. It's 1-877 Air Max 1. And we'll use that on an upcoming episode. And if you don't want us to use it, just tell us not to, and we won't use it, obviously. But as always, we appreciate you guys rocking with us, spending an hour of your week with us. And my name is Nick Engvall. You can follow me at Nick Engvall on all platforms. More importantly, just follow at Sneaker History everywhere, even Tumblr. I think there's a Pinterest out there, but I don't use it much. But all the social platforms. And guys, let them know how they can find you.
Yeah, Mike Guillory, you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789. And then you can find me and listen to me ramble on YouTube at Mike Guillory. Where can they find you at, Robbie?
Yeah, you can find me at RAHBEE702. And make sure you're following the Craig Mack with the K at the end .official fan page.
Right on. We appreciate all of you, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
See ya.
Bye.
What up, y'all? This is Nick again. First, I wanted to thank you for listening to the Sneaker History Podcast. It really means a lot that you would spend a part of your day rocking with us. Before you take off, I wanted to ask a few favors. If you're looking for more content from the Sneaker History crew, head over to patreon.com/sneakerhistory. Our Patreon members get access to exclusive episodes of the podcast, our latest merch, giveaways, and much more. You can become a member for as little as $5 a month, and it really goes a long way supporting the crew. Next, make sure you're signed up for our email newsletter. We share updates about the footwear business, some of our favorite finds and deals, and other sneaker-related news a couple times per week. I like to think of it as a one-stop shop for the sneaker game, or at least a work-in-progress one-stop shop for the sneaker game, if you know what I mean. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. Whether online or in person, social distancing in effect, of course, it helps make the sneaker community a better place, and you never know what conversation and opportunity might come from it. As always, we appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.